Welcome to Let's Change Money Habits, where we dive into the real life experiences of various guests, exploring their relationship with money from the way they see money, use money, save money, and think about money, to how they had to change their money habits to adapt to a changing world. There's great power in talking about money, and through these discussions, we want to learn how we can start creating good money habits that will help us become more financially stable and prosperous. Let's Change Money Habits is proudly brought to you by Nedbank. I'm your co-host, Sibu Metane, founder and CEO of Silicon Life, and I'm joined by our personal finance expert, Mapalo.
Thanks,
Hello,
Sia.
Mapalo.
Hi, I'm Mapalo Makhu, and I'm a personal finance columnist and author of You're Not Broke, You're Pre-Rich.
Thank you, Mapalo. I believe I am pre-rich. I am on my way.
Are you not rich already?
you don't know rich shame. You don't know rich shame. You just know rich Rasta from Bold and the Beautiful. Nonetheless, in today's episode, we are chatting to the person she's really pre-rich. You know, she's a multi-talented, award-winning Sibu Mabena. And we're going to talk to her and just like she's going to elaborate how she's been just juggling the different balls in her world, you know, with regards to her business, her money, and yeah, I'd like to introduce her. Sibu, how you doing?
Multi-talented. I'm doing really well. The multi-talented, pre-rich woman. I love that so much. I really love that, Mapalo.
So yeah, Sibu, take us through, introduce yourself, first of all, and elaborate on to our listeners some of the things that, all the balls that you're juggling at the moment.
So I am an owner of an agency that does creative communications. The agency is called Duma Collective, and we work in the FMCG marketing space. We work in entertainment, and we bring to life brand messages through different communication channels, such as talent, such as social media, events, and creative direction. I've shown. So we do a number of things, and at different stages, I'm wearing a different hat. At one point, I'm a strategist. At some point, I'm fixing a banner wall. At another, I'm tweeting or creating influencer campaigns. So yeah, we do a lot of things, and we deal with monies coming in, monies going out, and you know the realities of running a business are that you're not just the creative, but you're also the administrator of all of this creative stuff. So it comes with a lot of financial challenges, and I'm just here navigating them all one day at a time.
Sibu, I want to know, like, and I've seen your work ethic, and I've seen you when you're on your drive. Where does this come from? You know, what type of household were you raised in? Is this something you find from your parents? You know, besides just the work ethic, is there anything about money that your parents taught you about, or were you just a kid in the streets who learned from the streets?
So I think I have the best of two worlds. On one hand, my dad loves the good life, wants to buy the expensive quality items. Where on the other hand, my mom is just like, no, get what you need, not what you want. So why do we have to have DSTV 365 channels when you only watch 4? Or you can only watch 1 at a time? Whereas my dad, in every room in his house, we had a TV. Each person had their own remote, you know. So I got to learning from both of them. But from a work ethic, my mom was a 9-to-5er. She worked for government. And then my dad was a businessman. He had multiple businesses. So I've seen him work until odd hours of the night. And when people ask me, what does your dad do? I'd say he goes to meetings for a living, because that's all I saw him doing, going to meetings all the time. When my mom would wake up in the morning, drive to Pretoria from Joburg every day, come back from work. It was a Monday to Friday type thing. So from the both of them, I learned discipline on one end and being accountable to someone and being able to report to seniors and, you know, get your job done because you've got people that you report to. And on the other hand, I learned hustling for yourself, and, you know, if you don't do the job, you won't get the money. And I think the combination of both is what has gotten me here, that my work ethic stems from seeing people working constantly, and my ability to navigate financial decisions or financial planning has come from influences from both ways. If you want something, get it, but also plan for the worst and be able to save. So yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that the idea of saving money is something that you were introduced to at a young age from both your mom and dad? And obviously taking into consideration their different personalities.
Yeah, so I think my mom would always say she doesn't have money. And I'm like, how don't you have money? How are we paying for everything if you don't have money? So like my parents divorced when I was very young. So when she got to 5,000 rand in her bank account, she's officially broke. So there's nothing coming out unless it's an emergency. And 5,000 rand to me was like, what? That's so much money. What do you mean you don't have money? Where my dad, on the other hand, was like, hey, trip to Disneyland, anyone? Let's go. And then at some point down the line, I saw things go bad for him in business, and I think he made a couple of bad business decisions along the way, and I saw the effects of that. So it also opened up my mind to things can go bad. Money doesn't last forever. So did I get taught how to save? Not necessarily. This is a savings plan. This is where you put money away. But the relationship with money, especially the lessons from my mom, was that money doesn't last forever, and you've got to save for a rainy day. To the extent that my older sister would borrow money from my mom, and she'd make her sign a contract. Say, okay, you're borrowing money. When are you paying it back? If you don't pay it back, what are you giving me? And I would see that and say, okay, cool. So that's how credit works. That's how borrowing money works. I learned it by watching, not necessarily being told. And coming into my adult life, I think those were some of the subconscious thoughts that I had about money, that it doesn't last forever, one, but two, if you borrow, you've got to pay it back, and three, people hold you to it. And if you can't pay it back, then you lose your stuff.
That is so profound, because I think a lot of the times when you're an entrepreneur like yourself, when money starts rolling in, it's all good times, but you don't think about the fact that maybe one day it's not going to keep on rolling in. So I love the fact that you've learned some lessons from your parents. But take us through a credit story that you have. When were you first introduced to being responsible for paying back some sort of credit?
Wow. Okay, I'll in high school, like the tuck shop stories. I think because I went from a government school where everybody is kind of like same, to a private school in grade 10. And the tuck shop prices are very different. A toast at Pro Arte was like R6.50, where at midstream it was a little bit more. It's like 15 Rand. So that exposure to like different costs, I wasn't ready for, but I still wanted the things that I wanted. And I would occasionally borrow money from friends and be like, oh, please just loan me 5 Rand, I'll give it back to you. And then when I bring it back, I'll pay it back in a month when I've got money from like all my hustling, because I used to teach dancing. I used to like take care of kids at aftercare. So I knew I have to pay people back. And I think I started developing that in high school. It's a really trivial example, a really trivial thing. But because I wanted something that I couldn't afford, I was able to make the means to afford it and then pay back when I had to pay back. But it was also, I think, engraved in me that you must be realistic about what you can afford to pay back. Because now if I borrow 100 Rand to go and buy a Debonairs pizza across the road, is that the same as borrowing 5 Rand from someone to afford a toast at the cafeteria? Was my credit story, I guess, and how I started building a relationship with borrowing money.
And you touched a little bit about your time as a professional dancer. Just give us a little bit of what you experienced during that. You went to a couple of places in the world, and obviously now you move from okay, I've got 100 Rand, and then you get to the wherever in the world, and your 100 Rand is worth 10 Rand. What like with regards to just like collecting like currencies from various countries. I mean, do you collect that, and did you, and how were you saving for these trips, knowing that like your 1 Rand is one nothing when you wherever you are, to the euro, to the pound, it's gonna pound, you're gonna be pounded.
Yeah, look, I think I was very privileged to have been exposed to my first international trip on someone else's budget. I've heard on my dad. So I went to go visit a friend who had moved to France. Her mom went to work there, and then they moved there. So when I was 10, I got to go to France, and I think her mom gave us like 100 euros each or something. And I'm 10 years old. I don't understand what the value of 100 euros is at home. So in Paris, I'm just like, oh, it can buy me a packet of Starburst sweets. It can buy me Pringles. It can buy me a Snapple. It can buy me a Big Mac meal. And then it finishes. When I get back home, I think my mom's like, how? Do you know how much that would have been worth in this country? And I was like, well, it's finished now. It's finished. And that was my my socialization into, okay, this is how currencies work and the power of money in one country versus in another. And then fast forward maybe.
Sorry to interrupt you, Sibu. Are you saying that your mother was already trying to black tax you already?
Yeah. She was just like, come on.
A whole continent, African tax, a whole
you
continent.
Couldn't hold 5 euros, ubuye nayo, so you could have 100 rand. And that did help me see, okay, cool, this is how it works. But when I was then, I think 13, then I went on my first dance trip to Germany. And in that, I knew, okay, I've got this 300 euros. Now I remember back to when I could have saved. And I did. I didn't spend all of it. Instead of, buying all sorts of gifts, people were buying sneakers. Like we would go, because it's hip hop dancers, it's kids, we're all youth. We go into the streets to Foot Locker and all of these places, and you're seeing the kids buying sneakers. And I'm like, I don't care about that. I care about the money I'm going to have when I get back home. So instead of spending my entire 300 euro pocket money, I'd spend 200 of it and come back with this 100 euros. And it was in like a 20 euro note and a 50, I think I remember. And it just made me so proud to have this foreign money. But I didn't clock that when I get home, I can't necessarily exchange it because there was like rules and there's like, where you're coming from and all of these different things that I didn't know about. So I then started collecting notes. And when my parents would try, oh, can I have that coin, that pound, that, and asked to do foreign purchases and pay where, so the UK, all of that. So that, okay, the purchasing power is different. When you've got 1 million rand here, it is 400,000 euros or whatever. And just being able to understand that conversion and that the way the currencies function helps a lot in being able to run a business such as this, which is not only based in South Africa, but we do work globally.
Yeah. So how would you say traveling all the different countries that you've spoken of from a very young age, experiencing all different cultures, how has that affected your outlook on money?
Look, I think just my outlook of home and South Africa and the kind of lifestyle that we have here and the affordability of it. I've got a really massive sense of appreciation because on how we live here versus how people live in other countries that we aspire to be in, we have a great quality of life and at a very affordable price. I look at people in the UK. I mean, my house, as humble as it is, it's still bigger than what a lot of people in the UK would get simply because they don't have enough land. And what they're paying there versus what I'm paying here. I always tell my friends overseas, guys, take your money and invest it in South Africa because we get so much more with what you are able to spend here. So just from an exposure perspective to say the quality of life is really great. And what we get paid here and relative to what people get paid overseas versus the lifestyle that we can lead here relative to what they can lead there, we are in a good position. We're in a good place. Things aren't as bad as they could be. I also then consider when I travel, like I did a UK trip Thursday, but I can budget. I got and I think I ate only 24 hours later because I ate on the plane. The last meal before you get off the plane, I had that. I only bought food 24 hours later because the Nando's meal was £9. And I said, I'm definitely not paying 120 Rand for a quarter chicken meal where I get it for 56 Rand in South Africa. So it was also just like that negotiation with myself. Am I willing to sacrifice double the cost for the same thing I could get back home? Maybe not. But am I going to spend on something I can't get back home? Okay, yes, I can consider that. So it's such a hectic negotiation that you've got to do with yourself. And someone said to me, if you're going to convert, you're going to die of hunger and thirst, because a bottle of water is 30 rand and you would never spend that much up, but you also can't drink the water out the tap. So there's a lot of negotiation that happens, but it creates a great sense of appreciation of what you do have back home.
Yeah, absolutely love that. I absolutely love that, because when it comes to money, you realize that it's always a give and take. You have to negotiate, constantly negotiate with yourself to say, okay, do I need this? Do I want that? And what will give me the best outcome out of this trip? So I absolutely love what you said. Yes, yeah.
Now I was saying that like whenever I go overseas, I've got $100 rule. You know that like I'm $100 day person. So a day is
And
$100.
what happens when you find the
over
sneakers that are
$100.
like $99 and you still have to eat?
No,
Yeah.
no. Sometimes I don't spend a lot, so I can literally like let the money like roll over to the next day. You know, so I can be $120. So I only buy things on my last days of the trip, because now I've been taking care of myself. You know what I mean? So, and you must train yourself to also eat one certain thing that fills you, because once you can train what you're eating, then you know that that one is just maybe
And
$10.
you know,
The drink
that's
is this. And
that's also
another
something
thing.
we used to do like when we travel with the teams, as friends. We would say, okay, cool, I'm having a croissant with ham and cheese for breakfast, and then I pack another croissant and ham and cheese. Also, we learned, like, I think the one year we went to Poland, first stop, go to Spa, because they had a Spa, and go and stock up on snacks and Pringles and like bread and cheese and ham and stuff like that, so that you're not going to McDonald's to buy a €5 meal. So it was just being able to be efficient with the little bit that you had and still get things done and still get what you need. And I think that's also translated into general life now. What do I need versus what do I want, and what can I afford? And I just have a rule, to my mom's point about like 5,000 Rand and she's broke. If things were to go completely pear-shaped, a la COVID, would I be able to afford the things that I have for at least 3 months going forward? That's how I hire people. That's how I take on rental options for an office. That's how I make decisions on how to spend money. Would I be able to do the things I need to do if no money came in?
Do you know Tepiso Mantachi? I don't know. I think it's pronounced Mantachi.
Yes, I think he's a doctor, psychologist. He maybe like, there's a quiz that I took, so that was drafted by Dr. Tsepiso, and I've just heard of it, and yeah, that quiz was quite the mirror for me. I won't lie.
So yeah, that's why I started it that way, because I wanted to find out what archetype are you after taking that quiz.
So I will tell you, and it's something I'm proud of, but also a little embarrassed by because of the deep psychological evaluation thereof. But I am the gifter. Like, one of my love languages is gifting. I like to make people happy by showing them, that I was thinking of them in a certain situation, whether it's a celebratory thing or I went to the shop and I saw this and it reminded me of them. So yes, I am the gifter.
So you know what, Sibu, with gifters, oftentimes they give so much, and the people who are receiving, they keep on just taking and taking and taking. Do you find yourself resentful sometimes? Because I've seen most of the time with gifters, they give so much that they end up being resentful that people just keep on taking and taking. Have you drawn some, have you said to yourself, you know what, this is how much I'm going to end up gifting you, so that, your cup is full as well? Or have you seen that, you are able to give to the point where you can say, okay, you know what, I'm still okay myself? Because I find oftentimes that gifters keep on giving until they have absolutely nothing to give. So have you drawn some boundaries, number one? And you give to the point where you feel like, you know what, I'm okay. I'm still okay myself, and I can still give to other people.
I think, okay, let me go back to my relationship with money. There is the thing of being calculated and, can I afford this, etc. But then there's also the fact that I make money. Like I don't hold on to money. I'm not scared of money, because I've been able to make it over such a long period of time. I started making money when I was 13. I think my first check, I didn't always ultra ad, and I got 13,000 rand. Down the line, my grandfather, I think I was 12, sat us down and said, "Hey, here's 5,000 rand. Do what you will with it." And we saved it. I didn't spend it. So my relationship with money is that it comes, you work for it, you make it. From a gifting perspective, like when I purchase things for people or do things for people, I've spent 30,000 rand on someone. I've spent 50 rand on someone. I've given things to people, and it's not the calculation of the amount. It's, for me, the experience that the person gets from the certain gift. And that's where I struggle to quantify or put a number to say, I don't go beyond 400 rand for a birthday. I don't go beyond 50 rand for a parking attendant. I don't go, it's what can I afford at that time, and where's my heart at? What am I trying to have this person experience? And that's what determines how much I spend. But I also look at relative to what I need to do. I'm not going to spend my whole salary on someone and then I'm not able to pay my bond, pay my car installment, insurance, feed myself, do my hair, etc. So it really is just, what do I have? What can I spend? What can I do?
Why won't you do that?
That is crazy. Yeah. Point blank period. That is crazy. No, this is not Sister Act.
She has to take care of herself first so that she can take care of everyone else.
And I do believe in that I've got to be able to do, or I've got to be able to have to give. So I'm not going to be stupid. And also gifting for me, it's about you seeing the value of the actual gift. Like, oh, you bought me in a money bag for 5,000 rand. You love me. No. See my heart, see the intention behind. When I say for 30 people, cost me 30,000 rand, for example, what was the reason for that dinner? It was bringing your family closer to you, your friends celebrating you, and it didn't matter to me that it cost that much money. But on the other hand, if I buy you a mug with your name on it, a really personalized something, see the intention behind that. And that's where my gifting philosophy is at.
That is brilliant. So staying on the subject of your archetype and personality, you're quite candid and open when it comes to talking about money, right? Has this always been the case, or is it something that you've had to learn over time?
So I think I've generally, about many things, been very candid. I'm an open book. I also have been very open about my journey in work, in business, how I got here, because I think there aren't enough people telling their stories from an honest perspective. It's just like a person went to school, they got an opportunity and they woke up successful, and it's like, no. So I wanted to be that to other people who love to create an industry but don't know how to get to where they are. And one of the things that came with that is the money story, because it plays such an important role in building yourself as an individual and functioning in an economy. So I've been honest about how much the first paycheck or the first big paycheck I made was, and what I did with that money, and how running a business got to get to a place where you can afford to bankroll a project and wait 30 days to get paid, or wait 60 days to get paid. And a lot of different things happen along the chain of getting your money. And the cost estimate, and then the person who's receiving it goes on leave the next day, and then it's delayed by a weekend, and then it's extended to the procurement people, and then the procurement people, and now what should have been paid in a month gets paid in 3 months because of all these different delays. And these are not things that we speak about as entrepreneurs in the space, that, guys, these are the things to look out for. Someone told me a very important thing was your client is important, but the person more important than them is the finance lady or the finance man. Go and find out person in the building so you can get to know the processes and help yourself get paid fast, because so many things happen along the way. So my story about money is one of honesty. This is what happens, and these are the things to look out for. And when it's bad, it's bad. But when it's good, it can also get really good. So, I mean, the other day, I spoke of having 363 Rand. It was truth. It was a screenshot that I took to send to someone on my team. And it made me realize that I actually haven't shared something like this with people, but I've shared, PO received, POPs paid, So I also need to be honest about the other side of the story. And that is that it can get bad, but you can get out of it.
I love that. I love that. I think there's quite a lot of dissolution when it comes to being an entrepreneur or running your own business. So why do you love being so candid? What is the value that people can get from more people, not just yourself, but more people talking about money candidly?
The thing is, I think as Black people, young people, it's like it's been made such a taboo issue. Money don't talk about, and I'm let me say, I think that's why a lot of us have such bad relationships with money, because we can't have honest and open conversations about it. That, guys, it's okay to make money, and it's okay to tell your story about how you got there, because it's not necessarily bragging, but it is showing other people that, oh, if I do this, then I can also. And in that, you must also be honest about what are the challenges of it. So if you made bad decisions, I'm not saying go and tell people exactly how much you have, or go and tell people how much you got paid for a project, or how much you are paying people for a project. But if you are able to, this is how it bad. These are the things I did, and I bombed. And then this is how I got out of it. And this is how I survived it. And this is how I'm good again. So many more people would be able to navigate their careers better. They'd be able to navigate their entrepreneurship better, because we then have references of people who look like us telling us that it's okay to do this, and it's okay to calculate, or it's okay to. People have the property and say, oh, invest in property, this is the way to go. And others who've lost in property should be able to come and say, no, but look out for this, look out for this, look out for that. So it's those conversations that we're not having. And I'm trying to foster a space and an engagement that says, guys, it's okay to talk. It's okay to exchange ideas. It's okay to exchange experiences, especially. So I'm really happy about conversations like this that are able to kind of say to people like us, it is okay. It is okay.
I think just to maybe also to, when you do talk about us, we also faced with things like black tax. So besides us not really talking about money, like or talking about how things are working, it's because we know that like there's certain platforms that literally are gonna cause problems. Whether it's your cousin from the cousin from the cousin from the cousin, and a lot of us have got relatives even in the furthest places. I can't tell you. I'm on a. I'll name a brand. I'm on a liquor brand's billboard, and you don't understand. I get calls when people are coming from, before they even leave, where they're leaving 7 hours away, and they go, Shana, manje podlela. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
there are also those things that like I think we also need to focus on the platforms like this, like a platform like this that is directed to people who want to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think with adding to that, you and that's why I bought that. I was like, what was the reaction when you posted your bank balance? Do you have any black tax? I mean, and I know why you did it, but how did people receive
it? Surprisingly, okay. So what I find about my social media community is that a lot of it consists of people who would like to draw inspiration from what we do. They're like, oh, we like what she does. I have a keen interest in what she's doing. Then the others are just observers who just want to see, is she going to win or fail? I don't know if I have haters. I think it would be very someone I look up to, like, hey, what's going on? Do you need help? Do you need money? And I said, oh my gosh, hectic. We've never had that conversation about, are things tough? do you need work, whatever. And I said, no, I appreciate the offer to borrow, but things are fine now. However, I would appreciate an opportunity to pitch for work, so that, if there is some kind of money exchange, it is as a result of me doing work versus you borrowing us money. So that's one thing. It opened up doors to foster that kind of, exchange.
I mean, I really want to highlight that. That's a big lesson. It's like instead of it's putting on yourself. No, I don't need it, but bet on me to do the work, and that's like a good investment. That's okay, cool. I just wanted to highlight that.
So I mean, it also, in that moment, I could have been like, oh yeah, cushion me, give me the cushion so I can relax a bit. But no, this is an opportunity to have a different discussion to the rescue me, And then on one end, it created a community of people who were really going through a lot of things, and they just needed to see that the person they look up to also goes through these things. And I think it provided a sense of comfort, but hope. Not just misery needs company, but some kind of saying that, okay, she's gotten out of this before, she's bound to get out of it again. And let's just watch how she does it to get out of it, and maybe I can take a lesson from that. So the reaction was like amazing, I think, because I said I was having a really bad day on that day. Like, my God, what am I going to do? But just have a community that, other businesses also go through this. Not that I didn't know it, but it was just a reminder that, guys, we will get out of it. And I think a lot of people were just looking for that glimmer of hope that wasn't a positive energy, let's keep the TL positive, but rather a relatable story that says we can get out of this together. And that's what that candidness did. And a number of people have, shared their stories of, things are better now, we're in the green, or I'm in the orange, I'm out of the red. And it just helped foster a do, and how can we mitigate our risk better going forward now that we've seen what COVID can do. We've seen what a hectic pandemic that nobody was ready for. So how do I now better protect myself for the future?
I know we've been talking a lot, and it's almost like it's like literally like getting to know you for 2 years and then asking what's your surname. What do you do in your business? I mean, it is, we've literally just like gone and I've sent you cows, everything. But then I go, what do you do? I mean, I think that's something we should have actually started with, in the industry. I'm asking this also because it's going to lead to how have you been impacted, especially because you did touch on the pandemic.
Okay, so as a creative communications agency, we drive brand messages through various tools, creative tools mainly. So we work with events, we consult on events, or we produce events, the whole 360. We do influencer campaigns on social media, and we manage social media accounts for brands. So we do a lot of comms on digital and social media. Creative direction for live shows, like performance consulting. So we will come up with the creative idea behind how a squatter camp should perform in a SAMA's awards show, for example. And then, excuse me, lastly, we manage talent. So we've got 5 key talents that we manage, and we kind of are the business managers behind their creative businesses. And Motsibisi Mohono, PH, Jessica Nkosi, Mishalinda Mase, and most recently, Somizi. So that's kind of everything that the agency does, and it's all centered around the stuff that I am able to do.
Previously, there have been some negative money habits that you've had, right? But of course, through the pandemic, it has been a shocker for everyone. So how has the pandemic sort of changed your views around money, and what are some of the things that going forward you want to implement when it comes to your business? Because I think oftentimes we talk about emergency funds for ourselves, but we don't talk enough about emergency funds for our businesses. So what are some of the habits that you want to put in place going forward?
A really big one, because so earlier I alluded to the fact that being a creative it's hard to be the administrator of the creativity. So all I want to do is come up with the great ideas and like do the campaign and be on the ground working the event, booking what I can, but running the business, like the office staff, PAYE, income tax, VAT schedules, the accounting part of things. Do we buy 3,000 Rand worth of groceries for the office? Or do we, order from the coffee shop downstairs and have a bill? It's all of those negotiations that you have to do. And never sat down to draw a budget and say, this is how much it costs to run this business every month. Honestly, my accountant can tell you, I've never seen a budget from this girl. However, there's always money to pay for things. And when there wasn't, I make the call and I say, and I'll pay it back because I know a payment is coming. That's a very risky way of running a company. And by God's grace, I've been able to make it this far. And this pandemic has taught me that I need to understand how much am I making in relation to how much I'm spending and how much it takes to run this company. So big lesson, because in my face until this time. Because there's always been when you've got different invoices paying at different times and you just feel like, okay, the money's there. There's momentum, the cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out. And then it says cash no, cash none, cash 363 Rand. And that woke me up to the fact that I didn't realize how much I was spending in relation to how much was coming in and when this money is coming in. So that was the biggest lesson. Other than that, there really hasn't been much else to change. I mean, I moved into our office. We moved into an office that we had committed to in October, and then we did a refurb, could afford, and then COVID hit, and we said, oh, can't go anywhere. And I've got this empty office that I'm paying for every month. And I was like, okay, how do we negotiate that? We're not coming to work, so please can you? And then I say, you know what? If we die, we die. We've got an office now, and people still work from home, and we cover the cost of people working from home. But if anyone wants to come into the office, they can. And it's not an expensive place to be because I made sure I'm getting an office I can afford. So the biggest lesson was just the budgeting thing. Budget, yeah.
So do you think what you've learned in your business has kind of filtered through into your personal life? So the question I'm really asking is, did you budget before in your personal life? And if not, are you introducing that for your personal finances right now?
Yes, because I can be very impulsive, right? So back to the gifting thing, that if I want, I'll pay for it. And now I'm calculating a lot more. The other night I wanted food from this restaurant that's really expensive, and I was like, no, I'll cook, just sacrifice and a little bit of time and just cook, because you actually can't afford to be spending 800 Rand on a meal for 3 people. Why are you doing that? That's where my mind is at. And I'm saving a lot more. So I'm doing extra jobs on the side and putting that money away, because I want to be able to, there's certain goals that I want to reach now. And I'm also starting to study interest rates, because I've never cared about what do the basis points mean? What does the repo rate going down mean for me? If it goes up, what is 10 plus prime? I was just like, okay, Tabang, tell me, what does this mean? Speaking to my banker. Okay, so how much must I pay every month? Okay, cool, sharp, thanks. But now all these things are changing, and it's like, how does it affect me? Okay, if I pay a little bit more, that means my repayment goes down. From a car perspective, what's my settlement amount versus if I continue to pay the installment over the 72-month term. I'm trying to learn how to manage my finances better, where previously I was just like, can I afford it? When I get to 5,000, I'm broke. Okay, cool.
And Sibu, I just say that we all evolve to become better. The best financial manager when you grew up was the financial manager that said, once I've hit 5,000, you must get out. Do you know what I mean? And And that means there's an innate, almost like understanding of how to manage money, but there's no academic, educational aspect to it. You know what I mean? And I think what you're saying that like you're almost applying the same 5,000 rule, but like now you're actually like going through the education of understanding actually what does the 5,000 rand rule mean in interest rates? What does it mean in these points, etc., etc.? What you're doing, you're evolving it. You're taking those lessons. Your mother did it with the kids. You're doing it with your business, and you're also doing it with your personal life. And you probably gonna, and your kids gonna learn to even be better whenever that happens. You know what I mean? And what what I always say about finance is that like understanding finances is a journey, and the more you can get taught all this stuff, but the more you're around people who actually like are moving this money and have this money, and the more you hear them speak, you become very fortunate because it actually expands like how you see money and even your money at the end, you know.
But also just observing other people's behaviors with their monies. Like there's a friend of mine who bought a car like on the 30th day of lockdown. I said, excuse me, how are you? How? And when he explained the logic behind it, okay, I get it. The car he had has clocked 100K. It's out of service plan. What business does he have keeping a car like that? So he sells it, starts a new installment. And I said, okay, I understand. And people have different, philosophies around relationships with money, and what was a function benefit for him was getting a new car and committing money to that versus losing money on a asset that is now costing him more to maintain. And I said, okay, fine, that's one way of looking at it. For me, am I going to commit to that? I'm not ready for that kind of thing right now, but can I plan towards that? Yes, I should. And it is starting to look at things like, okay, the mileage on my car right now, when I need to take it for service, how much is it going to cost me? Okay, maybe I may as well, I should plan to getting something that won't cost me as much. And it's just looking to your circle and your environment and seeing what other people are doing and taking lessons from them to see how you can adapt that to yourself, and then going and doing the education or the research around the lessons you're learning from the people around you. And like to be very honest, it helps to have people, or not people, but Nedbank has really great websites that make it like easy to understand. It's not this big verbose English that you must sit with an Oxford dictionary and be like, what are you saying? Financial institutions really need to make it easy for people to understand how their money is moving. And I think as a nation, we would then have a better relationship with money.
What is one positive money habit that you've kind of introduced into your business under this new normal?
Budgeting, plan, resource planning. How much are we spending on this? How much is coming? That's it, budgeting. And I'm now a little bit more, what's the word? Aggressive, or not aggressive, more, I don't know, but more focused on my invoicing process and knowing what the timelines are. So now I don't just leave it up to clients as, hello client, where's the PO? After the PO, what is the expected payment date? Because previously I was just like, when the money comes, it'll come. Now I know that I need to budget according to a timeline and obviously leave room for things to change, but don't just leave it to chance anymore. Like, nah. So, yeah.
No, that is amazing, because I often say, you know what, when you budget and plan, that's actually the cornerstone of making your business successful and also your personal finances successful. So, for example, now you're having to say, okay, this is what I want to spend. This is how much is coming in. And you just know exactly what's going on. And that allows you to foresee in the future to say, you know what, maybe in the next couple of months, the income won't be as much. So how do we plan to make sure that our operations are still going? So planning, budgeting, I think you are spot on, Sibu.
Yeah, I mean, they say if you fail, you must just plan to fail.
And I've also got a theory. If you don't know these things, these interest rates, just don't get yourself involved, I've said that, you can't try, no, the mechanics of a car. It's got an engine like this, but you don't know how you're repaying, or and how and like then they give you the balloon, and you go, sure, I can afford, and
Ooh, don't get me
I just
started.
literally did a budget on I did myself. I was like, when they were auditing the presidents, I said, but why don't you audit yourself? And then I started auditing myself, and I said, and I looked at how much I was paying for a car, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I also said, but I do like things though, so I'm not gonna get a smaller car, So you gotta balance. It's not like I'm not buying this big car because I don't like. It's just that it doesn't make any sense. The money could be somewhere else, and then that's when you realize that maybe you're not making enough money to actually like have just to throw that type of money. And that's an honesty that like you also need to have, is that yes, you might be so far in where you come from and from a lot of people, but and then you start looking at other people who are earning less, who are driving bigger cars, and then that's when you start going, you know what, we don't know how much money is enough, and those are hard decisions. So when you start looking at that line item and you go, no, we're not making enough money. That's another thing that like we need to be honest with ourselves, is that like yes, because we are previously disadvantaged, it's easy to kind of make some money and just move up quickly. But are you making enough money to really afford that car that you are driving, and over time? So yeah, I think I just want to ask you now, is that like if you had known about like the pandemic, like before a pandemic, you know, um, what would you have done? I mean, obviously now I can say if you had known about it by October, I don't think you would have bought an office, or at least like rented an office, if that's what you're saying. That's maybe one. What else would you think that you wouldn't have done? And what else do you think you thought that wasn't a bad idea, but in retrospect, actually, it was a good idea.
Okay, so the office thing, I think we needed to do it as a business, and there's something in having a home base for our industry, at least as creatives. I think we need somewhere to go to when home gets too much. Your mother's asking you to cook up at 1 o'clock. I understand then to the laptop, and it's like I'm at work, and you need that escape from your natural environment to come and do great work. So would we have taken on the office so soon? I think maybe I would have delayed it, but it would have happened. Things that I did was fly business class to New York. And that was an impulse thing. That was me saying, no ways, I'm not going to be sitting on a flight for 23 hours over there. But why not? Why can't I sit on a flight for 23 hours? Because that's how I grew up traveling. Why all of a sudden should it change? And to me, it was just because I've earned it now. I've worked for it. The money's there. Let me do it. But if I'd known,
like my dad.
something like my dad. However, had I known, hey, that money would have gone a long way, to help cushion a lot of things. And it wasn't the business's money that I spent. It was my savings, my personal savings. And looking at the advantages let me call it an advantage of this COVID time with repo rates going down, I could have taken all of that money and said, boom, into my bond, to decrease my repayment. But that money is gone. Pay Emirates has their money, it's finished. Now I'm losing out on this great opportunity because the savings that I have now, plus that would have been so much more than what I can afford to throw into it now. So I think just the purchasing decisions that I made would definitely have been different. But the office would have happened because we're now more productive. We're doing a lot more. There's a lot more business coming in. I think there's a certain level of seriousness that we've now deposited into the market, and clients are starting to see us as, okay, that's a trustworthy agency because they can see where their money's going. They're not seeing me buying a Porsche, but they are seeing brick and mortar, and the clients that we work with are proud to have given us business because, okay, we're employing people. Okay, we're paying, we're kind of positing back into the economy. So in that sense, we're doing well. Anything else I would have done? I think they like possibly from an employment perspective, and this is a conversation we have to have as entrepreneurs. Do you have to employ everyone? No, because you can get into retainer agreements with freelancers. You can help people establish their own businesses where they are invoicing you and you're not paying them a salary, where you have a PAYE bill attached to it as well. So I think those are some of the things that I would have considered. I mean, it's one great story. I employ so many people every month, permanent employees, but there are other models that also work that we should start to explore as small businesses in this country. So yeah, those are some of the smaller things I would have changed.
So, I mean, to just as a maybe a nugget, do we feel that like we are in a world where you know, the entrepreneurs and the people who are literally employable? Do we feel we're in a world where employable people want to have like a monogamous relationship with the business that they work with one business? You know, do we in a world where maybe people actually they might want to do the one thing, but they don't want to literally have a relationship with one person because they want to extend, but they bring with it, if they protect your stuff that you do with the privacy and the non-disclosures that are required, is it more valuable for people to put themselves out there? Come with you, they come with all the knowledge from everything else and not just from you. So I mean, I don't know, interesting thing industry that you are in.
I think what we take for granted is the different types of people that exist in the economy. There are some who want security of tenure. There are people who want to know that I'm going to dedicate my days to this one company, and come what may, on the 31st, I'm getting paid. Whether they didn't invoice, my money must come. And then there are those who want the freedom to explore, and the gig economy is attractive to them. They want to be able to hop from office to office and learn and do like I was that person. I didn't want to I wanted to be committed to people, but I wanted to learn from other people as well, because I would feel like, I'm going to reach a ceiling here. But it comes with a lot of work for people to establish the trust in you that you're not going to take ideas from this place and take them here. And, there's that loyalty thing, and this is my person, etc. So in recognizing the different styles of work that freelancers have, or anyone that is exchanging their services for money, employees, 9-to-5ers, all these different terms, when you are an employer or someone who pays people for their services, you've got to then have that honest conversation with the person and say, do you want to be dedicated to me? Then the fee is different to, do you want to be a freelancer to me and you're only allocating a certain number of your days or your hours to what we do? And it's just a chat. At the end of the day, I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It goes on, what are your business needs? So I'll tell you, for example, with Duma Collective, we've got 9 people who are permanent. And we know whether there's one piece of work coming in or 30 pieces of work, people are going to work. And then I've got and we've got a certain number of projects allocated to them per month. And then we've got people that are just like friends. And when the project comes, I say, hey, there's a proposal. Do you have time to work on it? If the answer is no, I call on the next person. So my structure works on a mix of all of these different types of people. So it's just something that we need to embrace based on the needs of the business.
Yeah. I absolutely love what you said, Sibu, regarding COVID or the pandemic. The way that you viewed it, like it's an opportunity. I think a lot of people have viewed it as, this horrible thing that has happened, but I love the fact that you've taken it on as an opportunity. So an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to look at money differently, because I think throughout the process, it has taught you so much about money, not just for your personal finances, but for your business as well, but also to change money habits. So thank you so much for coming on and doing this podcast.
Yes, thanks a lot, Sibu. We appreciate it. And thanks to everybody that's lent their ears to this important conversation around money. Be sure to visit the website www.nedbankmoneysecrets.co.za / let's change money habits. For more content around understanding your relationship with money and ideas and how to start to create more good money habits. Once again, thanks a lot. And if you want to also continue the conversation on social media, please use the hashtag Let's Change Money Habits and tag at Nedbank on your posts, and we will recognize you and communicate with you. Shout out to everybody, and Sibu, you've been an amazing guest. And of course, I'm just like a guy who talks. I got no smarts, but without you, Mapalo, what am I? I'm just a
We're in this
guy.
together.
It could have
We're
been
in this together.
it could have been a rap show. Maybe we would have been dancing right now if it wasn't for you to come bringing these smarts. We'd be like, yo, when we go to the next dance
Oh,
competition?
please, we do both. Thank you to Nedbank for creating this platform.
Thank you.